Now, sneaky, cowardly and a grubby plot. An attempt by the government to make it easier to unseat the Speaker was defeated in the Commons on the last day of Parliament before the election. Emotions ran high, and for some MPs, it epitomised the kind of backroom deals and lack of accountability that's the very worst of Westminster. Well, this week, we've been asking what's wrong with our political class, and we'll be debating that in a moment with an MP and a lobby journalist. But first, the Ukip MP Douglas Carswell gives us his personal take on the world of the special advisor, or SPAD.
The special advisor, or SPAD. Minister's alter ego, most trusted aide, steering officials, briefing the press, ordering their elected masters around. For the modern politician, including Ed Miliband, David Cameron and Nick Clegg, beginning political life as a SPAD can allow you to forge just the right kind of contacts you'll need for a long career in elected office.
Special advisors are completely unknown to average people in this country. There's a good reason for that. Nobody's elected them. They are sort of permanent features of the system. This incestuous elite system of anti-democratic system of government, which has poisoned our politics for the last 25 years.
The poison in our politics? For many, SPADs epitomise everything that's gone wrong with Westminster. They're careerist, they're unaccountable, they spin and brief against anyone who gets in their way.
This government came to power promising to limit the number of SPADs, but there are now more special advisors than ever working up and down Whitehall. And last year, their salaries cost us more than £8 million.
Do you actually believe in me?
Do you believe in you? Because I can't see any fire in your eyes. I can't even see the clicking of the pilot light.
The thick of it, the BBC comedy that immortalised the role of the foul-mouthed, all-powerful SPAD, manipulating government for partisan and personal goals.
Gordon Brown's SPAD, Damian McBride, provided the perfect fodder for comedy writers, plotting and spinning on behalf of his new Labour masters. He was forced out of government when his spinning got out of control. But the dark arts Damian McBride engaged in were not just limited to attacking the opposition benches. This was a SPAD who plotted against his own colleagues too.
You'd get someone like me, and I've been quite open to admit it, you'd get someone like me deliberately undermining other members of the government and the activities of other departments, because as far as I was concerned, I needed to stymie them, because that was for the good of Gordon Brown and the Treasury. I would routinely leak information from other departments that would cause a problem for another minister. Sometimes it was just to sort of cause a bit of pain, a problem for someone who is a political rival.
The FDA is the union that represents senior civil servants. Its members are all too aware of the creeping influence of the SPAD.
Why is there sometimes friction between the senior civil service and the SPADs? What's the cause of it?
I think it's sometimes, special advisors are political animals, and clearly in terms of politics and what goes on a day-to-day basis, there can potentially be areas where there'd be a conflict, maybe perhaps a different interest between the government of the day or a particular minister, and therefore at times there can be tensions.
Do you think that some special advisors sometimes go rogue?
Clearly sometimes special advisors, either at the behest of ministers or on their own initiative, sometimes go beyond those boundaries, and that's inevitably where the public find there's an interest in it or there's a press interest in it.
Special advisors can spark press interest, and it's fair to say it isn't always for the right reasons. In 2001, the Labour SPAD Joe Moore apologised for describing September the 11th as a good day to bury bad news. In this government, the former Culture Secretary Jeremy Hunt's SPAD, Adam Smith, resigned after admitting his contact with the Murdoch-controlled News Corporation went too far. And Michael Gove's outspoken SPAD, Dominic Cummings, left his post last year, and he hit the headlines describing David Cameron's Number 10 operation as a farce. Of course, there are special advisors who leave office without their names splashed all over the papers. Nick Hillman spent 3 years as special advisor to David Willetts, the Universities and Science Minister.
I would actually have more SPADs, not fewer, because I think it would give greater sources of information and other experiences.
Did you sometimes get the feeling that some people who are SPADs
it was a way to get into the club. It was a way to get into Westminster.
There were some who definitely saw it as a way in getting into Parliament. There were some who actually were never interested in that. They were much more interested in power.
Power needs accountability.
Why are they not called before select committees to explain? Why did you take these decisions? Because very often you get poor old civil servants called up to explain decisions that weren't even taken by them. They were taken by a combination of ministers and special advisors, and yet they're the ones that have got to defend them.
I think Parliament should have the power to fire special advisors and senior civil servants. That way, this cosy Westminster club might just start to be opened up